This level, this is level 6, we're going to be looping the obstacles off the screen. So if you remember, our obstacles go off the screen, but they never come back. So we need to loop them so that they do come back onto the screen. So we are going to be working in the under the comment looping. So that's the one that we had skipped initially. So now we're going to be working in here. So we're going to add a conditional. So we're still using if statements that checks the horizontal obstacles X property to see whether it has moved off the screen. So remember, every time we made a sprite, it had an X and Y position. You can check the player's X and Y position, the obstacle's X and Y position, the target's X and Y position, and you can update that in your loop. So we're going to check if a condition is met where the obstacle is off the screen, and then we are going to reset the X property so that it loops back to the other side of the screen. So for example, this obstacle right here, because it is going in a positive direction, it's off the screen when the X property has reached greater than 400. So that's what we are going to be checking. So let's use an if statement. And we are going to be saying if with this case, we need a math. We're going to be checking if the number is greater than, if the X position is greater than a number. So I'm taking the greater than symbol. So I'm going to say if obstacle 1 X position is greater than 425, because I want it to go completely off the screen so we don't see it anymore. So if it's greater than that number, I want to reset the position back to the other side of the screen, which at the beginning was -25. So I need to update the sprite's X position. Type. And then we're going to change it to -25. So this is saying if the obstacle's X position is 425 off of the grid, then I want to reset it to -425, which is before the grid, and it's going to continue its velocity. So it's going to continue moving across. So it's going to move across. Once it gets to 425, reset back to the other side of the screen, move across, and reset back to the other side of the screen. And it's going to do that forever. So let's run this and just check our work. Perfect. Okay, so notice that the first obstacle now loops. So we're going to do the same thing for the second obstacle. However, the second obstacle is moving up. So we are going to be doing this similar if statement, but with the Y property. So again, we're going into controls. We are going to be checking if the property is less than, because see, it's going up, the Y decreases as it goes up. So we want to check when it's up here, maybe -25, and we want to reset it back down here, which is 425. So we're going to do something similar. So we're going to be using the less than symbol this time. And we're checking the Y property instead of the X. And we're checking obstacle 2. We're going to check if it gets up here, which is -25. And then we are going to reset it like we did here. So I'm going to my sprites. I'm taking the Y this time. And I'm going to reset it down here, which is 425. So let's check that. They should both loop now. There we go. They're both looping. Okay. Now, we're going to do something a little different, right? Instead of just moving it, we are going to move it to a random Y position because it's such a boring game if you know where the rocks are going to be all the time. So we're going to change it so that every time these rocks are reset, they reset at a different position. So for this rock, we're going to change the Y position to be a random number. And for this rock, we are going to change the X position to be a random number. So the way that we do that is we are going to just add one more code to each of these if statements. So we are in obstacle.x, we are going to add obstacle.y. So obstacle 1. And we are going to make it a random number. Up here it suggests 50 and 350. So that way you don't have it halfway off the screen. And we are going to do the same thing here, but for the X position. So every time it moves off the screen, it will be at a random X and Y position. So let's check that. And there it is. They're at different positions every time that they move.